time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was in Navadvip, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's group, they were very sophisticated people, so many of them. They were also less sophisticated people, but many of them were poets and literateurs and philosophers and big sannyasis, thinkers, and so forth. And even in today's world also, we have both sides of the spectrum. There are intelligent atheists and there are intelligent theists, and they have a different idea of how to go about it, how to go about surviving, how to go about living. In one sense, modern materialistic scientific worldview, not that science is inherently materialistic, it is what it is. It can be used for atheists, I should say, inherently atheistic. It's not. It's a way of researching and trying to find the truth. So there are many theistic scientists and so forth. But one of the kind of prominent ideas of evolution, for example, is that as an organism becomes more complex, then it's considered to be more evolved, and thus, because it is more evolved, it can dominate sufficiently over others enough to survive. So that sounds like the most evolved species is the most brutish. We don't like that we were kind of repelled by that idea. That doesn't make a lot of sense to us. That to be the meanest, to dominate over others, that is the most evolved. No one would think that Saddam Hussein is more evolved than Mother Teresa. We naturally think that the most evolved person in human society is the kindest person, the most generous person. And social Darwinism aside, which is an extension of Darwin's theory that seeks to incorporate all altruism and good acts and acts that appear to be against the principle of dominating others for survival, seeks to broaden the paradigm. I don't give it a lot of credibility. My thought is more that if one is to be objective, and this is what science is about in one sense, that one will, in the face of considerable evidence that contradicts the theory, in other words, when the theory is that survival is about conquering over others, and we find all of a sudden a species that's full of altruism. It's not just an aberration here or there that we find a dog doing a good deed or something like that, but it's everywhere. Then time to reconsider the paradigm, be open enough to, this is more scientific, then rather to expand the narrow paradigm to include all of this new information and frame the altruism in a way as if it's just for the sake of survival of the species, and it's also brutish ultimately, and so on. So my point being only simply that there are educated people on both sides of the argument, and those that have the sense that nature is venerable, the systems of nature are venerable, worshipable, that they for them to work for us requires some grace and living with some regard. I mean, humans are gods on earth in a sense, but when they give up worship, even God worships, that we know. This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is about. He finds worship to be most desirable, not accepting it, but engaging in it. So when they give up worship, veneration, regard for nature, they become meaner and become more exploitive and so forth. And then with technologies comes the question of morals and ethics and so forth. It is really like playing God, in a sense, to tamper with nature in such a way as to improve the food, or to an extent, of course, that has its place. But when the worship is taken out of the picture, then it is the opinion of the devotees that this will be counterproductive. That really life does progress naturally and happily through worship, through sacrifice. Food comes from sacrifice. Sacrifice, we have to work, means, as Gita says, and then we have to acknowledge nature. Anad bhavanti bhutani parjanadana sambhava. Food grains, previous to that he says, who works without sacrifice, who eats without acknowledging where the food has come from, they incur a negative reaction. So to eat and to live and in the spirit of sacrifice and worship. This is the idea of this verse. It says chatur vidha. That means foods, 4 kinds of foods. Chatur vidha sri bhagavat prasada. 4 kinds of food means all kinds of food. It means what's licked, chewed, drunk, sucked. It's a Upanishadic idea that takes into consideration the bodily, biological fires in connection with life airs, major and minor airs, and so this kind of 4 kind of food idea has its origin there. It's meant to encompass all types of eating. Sometimes it's described as 5: eating, chewing, licking, sucking, drinking, something like that. So in a comprehensive way, this verse is talking about eating. But really, it is not the guru who is doing the eating. Today we offer a big feast to the guru, and after eating he says, "You see, I don't eat." Like Durvas told the gopis, after eating the sweet rice that they brought him, they asked, "How will we get back across the Jamuna?" He said, "Oh, just go to the Jamuna and say, the sage Durvas never eats, and the river will open and allow you to pass." So they thought, "Wow, how could this possibly be? We just saw you, Baba, eat that sweet rice, and now you're saying that you didn't eat." So then, of course, he explained, as he also explained and answered their question as to how Krishna, who they danced with the night before, could be a brahmachari, when he said, "Just say Krishna is a brahmachari, and then the river will open, and you can go to the other side and see Durvas." Well, it's all found, of course, in Gopal Tapani Upanishad. So the verse is about how to eat and not eat, so to speak. How to really be independent of the need to eat. How to live in worship. In other words, the more we sacrifice, the more we worship, the more we give, the more we live, as we've often discussed. So Chatur Vidhasri Bhagavat Prasada.